few weeks ago, Hamilton came out on Disney Plus. If you don't know, Hamilton is this stage musical about the life of Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of America, but it's done with kind of a hip hop style. I did see Lin-Manuel Miranda's performance at the White House in front of Obama, and I thought it was great. But I also thought it was kind of a one-off song that was funny. I didn't think it would turn into this musical and this great Broadway hit. But now that I've seen the movie, I am obsessed with it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Rojo Reads the News. Remember, if you like what you see, consider supporting me. It's a couple weeks old now, but Hamilton film version of Broadway smash hit arrives with much needed burst of inspiration. I'll talk about this. If you haven't seen this, definitely, I think the price of Disney Plus is worth it. I really do. It's incredible. I downloaded the music and I listen to it all the time. I've watched it multiple times. I'm inspired by it. I'm moved by it. There are some scenes, especially towards the end, that if it doesn't bring you to tears, you're not a human being. The entire story has so many different ties and parallels. It's incredible. Let's go through it. With multiple cameras and close-ups, film capture the energy of the original production. My understanding is everyone in the movie version is of the original cast. One of the most striking things about the newly released film version of the groundbreaking musical Hamilton is that the release almost didn't happen. Yeah, I heard that. I guess it was filmed in 2016, and it's just now being released. As reported by the New York Times in March, as the effects of the pandemic set in, Roger Ebert, executive chairman of Disney, called Lin-Manuel Miranda the star and artistic force behind the hip-hop musical, and Thomas Kail, Hamilton's director. Ebert thought the time was right to release the film to the Disney Plus streaming service instead of the original plan, an October 2021 big-screen release. Kail and Miranda turned him down. Now, months later, with the coronavirus rebounding in the United States, Hamilton has arrived just before America's Independence Day. Miranda said he was swayed by tales of people who had tickets for the musical about Alexander Hamilton, the founding father who created the modern American banking system, but couldn't attend due to the virus. Here's the trailer. Go watch the trailer on YouTube. It'll whet your appetite. Whether streaming at home or on live strays, what sets Hamilton apart isn't just its swagger, but a revolutionary reimagining of America. Gone are the musty portraits of men in powdered wigs. Instead, the stage is filled with a multiracial cast that looks like it was plucked from the block in Brooklyn, New York. The immigrants who get the job done sing about the young republic's struggle for independence, battling first against England and then charting a path forward. With the now familiar cadence of Miranda's lyrics, cabinet debates become ciphers with Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson trading lines back and forth. They take the piss a little bit out of Thomas Jefferson, I won't lie, among a couple of other founding fathers and John Adams, and they really go after George III. There's something so appropriate about using the irreverence of hip-hop, an art form built on remixing and sampling to tell the story of men writing their own rules. This multicultural retelling of America's origin story isn't just about inclusion. The cast also gives the history lesson a new vigor. As the aspiring Hamilton, Miranda's eyes blaze with ambition, with his rival Aaron Burr, played by Leslie Odom Jr., can barely contain his envy. This guy right here, this is Daveed Diggs. I don't know if he won the Tony. I know he was nominated for a Tony. He plays both Lafayette and Jefferson, and in every time he is on the screen, he steals the show. I read somewhere that his lyrics, especially in a Lafayette song, were the fastest ever done in Broadway history. It's impossible to keep up with him. But it's brilliantly done. And his portrayal of Thomas Jefferson that you see here is magnificent. He's got a swagger to him. It steals the show in so many ways. Then there's Daveed Diggs, doing double duty as both French military officer Marquis de Lafayette and Jefferson. As Lafayette, Diggs bounces playfully across the stage, but while as Jefferson, he personifies the style and smarts to keep Hamilton at bay. Part of what makes the film version so wistful is that it functions as a reminder. This was recorded BP, before the pandemic, in the waning days of the Obama presidency. But more than the atmosphere of optimism that hangs in the air, the two live performances recorded in June 2016 marked what would be the end of the original cast. Perhaps that explains the extra level of emotion in many of the performances. Miranda's voice quivering as he hits a song's climax. Yeah, you see it, and it's not just in those guys. The gentleman who played George Washington, you can see the emotion as he does his climactic farewell song. Incredible performances from everyone. And the woman who plays Eliza is fantastic. She's got a song called Burn after she learns of Hamilton's infidelity, where she burns all the correspondence. That is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. But that being said, I think the most powerful song comes towards the beginning. And that is Eliza's sister, Angelica. It begins with a rewind of how Eliza and Hamilton met and how she is sacrificing her love for Hamilton for her sister. And it is so powerful. Her voice just resonates through the screen. You play it at max on your TV, in your car, and it's not loud enough. How they captured it. The ability to perceive that level of detail is part of what makes recording unique. Director Cale used stationary cameras hidden from a live audience. Then filming in an empty Richard Rodgers Theater, the cast performed again, while camera dollies, cranes, and Steadicams followed the action. That's actually not used very much. It's mostly the stage play itself. The result is something of a hybrid, capturing the energy of the stage production, the audience cheering, but also providing close-ups, zooming in to see the spittle flying from King George during You'll Be Back, or the tears rolling down the cheeks of Eliza, Hamilton's wife. Yeah, those two scenes, apparently the gentleman who played King George, he didn't mean to spit as part of the character. Apparently he spits in all of his performances on Broadway. And then the woman who played Eliza, I don't know her name. She's fantastic. There's a moment where you see the tears roll down her eyes, and it, yeah, it hits you right here, man. Here it is. Jonathan Groff. That's the guy who plays King George. Man, he did an amazing job. What's really unique about this particular song, he does like 3 versions of it. It follows these hip-hop numbers. And here comes King George all pomp and prissy. And it's kind of got this Beatles feel to it. It's a huge contrast between a uniquely American style of music, that being hip-hop, and the British form of music. It's fascinating how they meld it all together. With a runtime of 2 hours and 40 minutes, including an intermission, Hamilton is an exercise in endurance, but Miranda wisely breaks up the politics by exploring the complications of Hamilton's love life. While the Schuyler sisters, Eliza and Angelica, are more subplots than equal partners in the story, it gives the production a chance to literally change the tune, shifting from battle raps into heartfelt ballads. Given the hectic nature of the staging and the rapid pace of the songs, Hamilton does take time to adjust to a small screen. In the theater, you can choose to follow a performer. Here, the camera chooses for you. When I first watched it on TV, I had to adjust myself. It took a couple of songs for me to really get into it, but after about 20 minutes, I was hooked, and I've seen it many other times since then. Yeah, here is the gentleman who plays Aaron Burr, did a fantastic job as well. Everyone is amazing in this. At one point, Hamilton sings about his legacy, describing it as planting seeds in a garden you will never see. Certainly, Miranda never knew his film would be released in a time when everything exists in a strange state of suspended animation. But like a time capsule from an earlier age, Hamilton arrives with a much-needed burst of inspiration. It's more of a celebration of the promise of America rather than a catalog of a nation's sins. Slavery is mentioned, but only in a few passing refrains. What a Miranda's musical does is revitalize part of the American dream long forgotten. Near the end, Hamilton says, "I wrote some notes at the beginning of a song someone will sing for me. Now is the perfect time to enjoy that song." Speaking of the slavery aspect of this, they do talk about slavery. In fact, it's part of the story. And the quarrels between Hamilton and Jefferson go into slavery quite a bit. But one of the things towards the end is a slight nod. You know, you'll see it if you watch very, very carefully. The very end song, I don't want to give it away, but the very, very end song, Eliza is singing about the legacy of her husband after he dies. And she mentions that she helped do fundraising for the Washington Monument. And behind her comes Washington saying, "She tells my story." And then right after that, she says, I spoke out against slavery. You could have done so much more if you only had more time. And if you look at Washington's face, he looks at her and then he kind of bows at that sentence as if to say, you were right. An incredible story. I hope you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it right now. You will be hooked. You will be singing these songs. I am completely hooked. I am trying my best to rap as fast as Daveed Diggs, but impossible, for me. But what do you think of Hamilton? Have you seen it? Do you want to see it? Comment below. Let me know.